Before we continue, if you believe our stories deserve to be heard, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves meaningful African tales. Let's keep our stories alive together.
The door was not locked. That was the first thing Marcus Bell noticed, and it made his chest tighten before his hand even touched the knob. The hallway of the modest guest house in Ibadan smelled of incense and old wood, the kind of place missionaries stayed when they came for short spiritual retreats. The walls were quiet, too quiet, like they were holding their breath. Marcus pushed the door open slowly. Inside the room, the bed sheets were messy. A Bible lay open on the small table, its pages creased like it had been read in a hurry. Two half-empty glasses of wine sat beside it. And there, framed by the yellow glow of a single lamp, was his wife, Serena Bell, laughing softly as she leaned into the arms of a man wearing a priest's collar. Her head was tilted back, his hand rested on her waist. Their faces were too close, too familiar. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. For a brief second, no one moved. Time stretched thin like a thread about to snap. Serena's eyes met Marcus, and the smile fell from her face so fast it looked like it had been stolen. The priest froze, his hand still on her waist, his lips parted as if he had been about to say something holy or something unforgivable. "Marcus," Serena whispered, her voice shaking. The sound of his name in her mouth felt like a slap. Marcus did not shout, he did not cry, he did not rush forward or storm out. He simply stood there, staring at the woman he had built his life around, the woman who had kissed their children goodbye and said she was leaving for a missionary trip to serve God and spread light. The light in the room felt fake, the holiness felt broken. Marcus turned and walked away. The door closed behind him with a soft click, but the sound echoed louder than a scream. That single decision to walk away instead of confronting them would scatter his family in ways none of them could imagine. 3 weeks earlier, life had still looked normal. Marcus Bell was known in his Atlanta neighborhood as a calm, dependable man. He worked as a building inspector, the kind of job that didn't make headlines but kept cities safe. He believed in structure, in doing things the right way, and in keeping his word. His marriage to Serena had lasted 12 years, and together they had 2 children, 9-year-old Jordan and 6-year-old Maya. Serena was deeply involved in church work. She sang in the choir, organized charity drives, and often volunteered with visiting missionaries. Faith had always been her anchor. When she spoke about God, her eyes lit up with purpose, and Marcus respected that, even when he didn't fully understand her intensity. So when Serena came home one evening with excitement buzzing in her voice, Marcus listened. "Our church is partnering with a mission group in Nigeria," she said, placing her purse down. "We'll be there for several days, teaching, praying, helping the community." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Nigeria, that's far." "I know," she replied quickly, "but it's important. God is calling us to serve beyond comfort." Marcus nodded slowly. He trusted her, or maybe he trusted the version of her he believed in. The children were sad when she told them she'd be gone for days, but Serena promised to bring gifts and stories. She hugged Marcus longer than usual that night. Too long, he would later think. In the days that followed, Serena was distant. She smiled, but her mind seemed elsewhere. She spent more time on her phone, stepping outside to take calls. When Marcus asked who she was talking to, she said it was fellow missionaries coordinating plans. Marcus didn't press. He never wanted to be the suspicious husband. He believed love worked best without constant questions. The day Serena left, she wore simple clothes and carried a small suitcase. She kissed Marcus on the cheek, hugged the kids, and walked out with a soft wave. That night, the house felt emptier than it should have. 2 days into Serena's trip, Marcus got a call from his cousin Raymond, who worked with an international construction firm. "You said your wife is in Nigeria, right?" Raymond asked casually. "Yeah," Marcus replied, "missionary work." Raymond paused. "That's funny, I just saw someone who looks exactly like her at a guest house in Ibadan, but she wasn't with a group, she was with a priest I know." Marcus laughed nervously. "You're probably mistaken." "I thought so too," Raymond said, "but man, they looked real close." After the call ended, Marcus sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wall. His heart told him to ignore it, his mind told him to investigate. That night Marcus barely slept. By morning, a decision had formed in his chest, heavy and unavoidable. He called in sick to work, booked the next available flight, and told no one, not even his children, that he was traveling. I just want to surprise her, he told himself. See her smile, see the work she's doing. But deep down, another voice whispered that he needed to see the truth with his own eyes. The journey felt endless: planes, waiting rooms, unfamiliar languages. Marcus prayed silently, asking God to prove his fears wrong. When he finally reached Ibadan, he found the guest house Raymond had mentioned. It wasn't a large mission center like Serena had described. It was quiet, private. The receptionist smiled politely when Marcus showed Serena's photo. Yes, she said, she is staying here. Marcus's heart pounded as he climbed the stairs. Then came the unlocked door. Then came the sight that broke everything he believed in. Now Marcus sat alone in a dim taxi, watching the guest house disappear behind him. His phone buzzed. Serena's name flashed on the screen. He did not answer. His hands trembled as he stared out the window, replaying the image in his mind: her face, the priest's hand, the bed, the Bible. Marcus made another decision then, one that felt just as heavy as the first. He would not confront her yet. He would go home. And when he did, nothing would ever be the same again. The taxi turned onto a dusty road, and Marcus closed his eyes, unaware that his silence, his restraint, and his choice to walk away would soon tear his family apart in ways far worse than the betrayal itself. Marcus returned to Atlanta 2 days later with a face that looked calm but eyes that carried storms. He hugged his children tightly at the airport pickup point where his sister Naomi had brought them, telling them their mother would be back soon. Jordan noticed the stiffness in his father's arms, but Marcus only smiled and said he was tired from travel. At home, Marcus moved like a guest in his own life. He cooked, helped with homework, washed clothes, and prayed quietly at night, but inside him something had cracked open. Every sound reminded him of Serena, every empty chair screamed her absence. Serena called that evening. Marcus, hey, she said softly, the trip has been intense but beautiful. God is really moving here. Marcus listened without interrupting. Her voice sounded normal, too normal. That's good, he replied. There was a pause. You sound distant. Everything okay at home? Yes, Marcus said, everything is fine. He ended the call before she could ask more. Over the next few days, Serena sent photos, children smiling, group prayers, church halls. Marcus studied each image carefully. In none of them did he see the priest, but that didn't calm him. If anything, it made the lie feel deeper. Marcus began to notice things from the past he had once ignored: late-night meetings, sudden changes in church schedules, the way Serena sometimes defended a particular priest, Father Caleb Moore, when others questioned his strictness or authority. Father Caleb was well respected, tall, confident, with a voice that commanded attention. He traveled often between the U.S. and Africa, leading spiritual retreats. Marcus had met him twice before, shaken his hand, trusted him. That memory burned. One night, after putting the kids to bed, Marcus sat at the dining table with Naomi. You're quiet, Naomi said. You sure everything's okay? Marcus hesitated, then finally spoke. What would you do if you found out someone you trusted betrayed you, but confronting them might destroy your children? Naomi frowned. I'd want the truth, no matter how painful. Marcus nodded slowly. Even if the truth breaks the family. The truth always breaks something first, Naomi replied, but lies rot everything. Marcus said nothing more, but her words stayed with him. Serena returned a week later. She walked through the front door with a bright smile and open arms. The children ran to her, laughing and clinging to her clothes. Marcus stood back, watching her movements, her expressions. She looked exactly the same, and yet she didn't. That night, after the kids were asleep, Serena sat beside Marcus on the couch. You didn't ask me anything about the trip, she said. Marcus stared at the TV, which was muted. I figured you'd tell me what you want me to know. Serena's smile tightened. What does that mean? It means I trust you, Marcus said calmly. She searched his face as if trying to read something beneath the surface. Then she leaned in and kissed his cheek. I missed you, she whispered. Marcus didn't respond. Days passed. Serena slipped back into routine: church rehearsals, meetings, prayers, but Marcus noticed her phone was never far from her hand. He noticed how she sometimes stepped outside to answer calls. He noticed how she avoided mentioning Father Caleb's name altogether. Then one afternoon, Marcus received an email. It was from the church board. They were inviting families to a special testimony service led by Father Caleb, who had just returned from Nigeria. Serena's name was listed as one of the featured speakers. Marcus's jaw tightened. That evening, Marcus casually mentioned the event. "Oh yes," Serena said quickly, "it's just a small thing sharing what God did." Marcus nodded, "I'll be there." Serena froze for a second. "You don't have to, it might be long." "I want to support you," Marcus said, looking directly into her eyes. She forced a smile, "Of course." The night of the service, the church was full, lights bright, music loud, people clapping and praising. Marcus sat with the children in the front row. Serena was backstage with the other speakers. Then Father Caleb walked onto the stage. The congregation erupted in applause. Marcus felt his stomach twist as the priest smiled warmly, speaking about sacrifice, faith, and obedience. His words were smooth, practiced, powerful. Then Serena joined him on stage. She stood beside Father Caleb, close enough that Marcus noticed how easily she leaned toward him. She spoke about transformation, about finding deeper purpose on the mission trip. "As believers," Serena said, "we must be willing to give ourselves fully to God's calling, even when it's uncomfortable." Marcus watched Father Caleb nod approvingly. Then Father Caleb placed a hand on Serena's shoulder. The gesture was brief, most people didn't notice. Marcus did. His heart pounded as anger, hurt, and clarity collided. At that moment, Marcus realized something terrifying. This wasn't just an affair. This was influence, control, a web far bigger than he imagined. And if he stayed silent much longer, his children might be pulled into it too. As the congregation stood to pray, Marcus remained seated, his fists clenched, staring at the stage. He had walked away once. But now, he knew another decision was coming. One that would expose everything or destroy them all. The prayer ended, but Marcus did not stand. Around him, voices filled the air with amen and raised hands. Jordan tugged lightly at his sleeve. "Daddy, why aren't you standing?" the boy whispered. Marcus forced a small smile, "Just tired, son." But inside him, a storm was rising. On stage, Father Caleb finished with a final blessing and stepped aside. Serena followed, her face glowing as people lined up to hug and congratulate her. Marcus watched her accept praise with ease, watched how Father Caleb leaned in to whisper something in her ear that made her smile. That smile hurt more than the sight he'd seen in Nigeria. When the service ended, Marcus gathered the children and headed toward the exit. He did not want to speak to Serena yet, not here, not in front of God and witnesses and pretending smiles. But Serena caught up to him near the door. "You're leaving already?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus replied, "the kids are tired." She glanced at Jordan and Maya. "I'll meet you at home." Marcus nodded and walked away. At home, Marcus tucked the children into bed earlier than usual. He read Maya her favorite story even though his mind kept drifting. When Jordan asked if everything was okay, Marcus simply kissed his forehead and said, "Daddy loves you, always remember that." The words felt heavier than they should have. Serena came home later that night. The house was quiet. She found Marcus in the kitchen, sitting at the table with a cup of cold tea. "You didn't wait up," she said lightly. "I did," Marcus replied, "for 12 years. She stiffened. Marcus finally looked at her. "Tell me about Father Caleb." Serena blinked. "What about him?" "Tell me why he was in the same room with you in Ibadan," Marcus said calmly. The color drained from Serena's face. You went to Nigeria," she whispered. "Yes," Marcus said, "I saw you." Silence stretched between them. The ticking of the wall clock sounded unbearably loud. Serena sat down slowly. "It's not what you think." Marcus almost laughed, almost. "I saw your hands on him, I saw the bed, I saw the Bible on the table." Tears filled Serena's eyes. "Marcus, please, it started as counseling. He said I was chosen, that I had a special calling. I was confused, vulnerable." "In the room?" Marcus asked. "The wine." She looked away. "I didn't plan it," Serena said softly. "He said love can be spiritual too." Marcus stood up so suddenly the chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Do not insult me with that." Serena flinched. I trusted you, Marcus continued. I trusted him. You used God as a cover. I was lost, Serena cried. I didn't mean to hurt you or the kids. Marcus closed his eyes. When he opened them, something had changed. I'm not shouting, he said quietly, because I don't want them to hear, but understand this, what you did didn't just break my heart, it broke our foundation. Serena reached for his hand. Marcus stepped back. I need time, he said, and so do the children. Are you leaving? Serena asked, fear rising in her voice. No, Marcus replied, you are. Serena packed a bag that night. She cried quietly as she folded her clothes, glancing toward the children's room. Marcus watched from the doorway, his arms crossed, his face firm. You can explain to them later, Marcus said, when you're ready to tell the truth. Serena nodded, unable to speak. As she walked out of the house, the door closed behind her with a finality that made Marcus's chest ache. But the worst was yet to come. 2 days later, Marcus received a call from Jordan's school. Mr. Bell, the principal said gently, Jordan had an outburst today. He said his mother left because church took her away. Marcus's heart sank. That same evening, Naomi came over with concern etched on her face. You did the right thing, she said, but the fallout is just beginning. Marcus nodded, he felt it too. That night while the kids slept, Marcus checked his email. There was a message from an unknown address. The subject line read, You should have stayed quiet. His pulse quickened as he opened it. Inside was a single sentence. If you expose this, your family will pay. Marcus leaned back in his chair, staring at the screen. He had made a choice to send Serena away. Now he realized someone else was making decisions too. And they were not afraid to threaten him. Marcus did not sleep that night. The email stayed open on his laptop, its single sentence glowing like a warning sign in the dark. He reread it over and over, hoping it would somehow change meaning, hoping it was just an empty scare. But the tone was too deliberate, too confident. Someone knew what he had seen. Someone was watching. By morning, Marcus had made another quiet decision. He would not respond, he would not panic, but he would start paying attention. He dropped the children at school himself instead of letting Naomi help. He watched the parking lot carefully, memorizing faces, cars, patterns. When he got to work, he felt distracted, measuring walls and checking permits with a mind that kept drifting back to Serena, to Father Caleb, to the way the priest's hand had rested on her waist like it belonged there. During lunch, Marcus searched Father Caleb's name online. The results were impressive. Sermons, interviews, photos with community leaders, articles praising his global mission impact. There was nothing suspicious at first glance, but as Marcus dug deeper, he noticed something strange. Churches that had once hosted Father Caleb no longer mentioned him. Old event pages were removed, comments on videos were disabled. It felt like a trail that had been carefully cleaned. That evening, Serena called. Marcus stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. A few minutes later, a text came through. Please let me see the kids, I'll explain everything, I'll fix this. Marcus typed, deleted, and typed again before finally replying. They need stability, we'll talk soon. It was a lie and he knew it, nothing about this felt fixable. 2 days later, Marcus attended church alone. He sat in the back this time, unnoticed. Father Caleb was not present. But his presence still filled the room through whispered conversations and reverent mentions of his name. Marcus listened carefully. Father Caleb is starting a new retreat, one woman said, only selected couples. People say he has a gift for healing marriages, another replied. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. After the service, Marcus approached one of the older deacons, Mr. Henry Lawson, a man who had been part of the church for decades. Can I ask you something? Marcus said quietly. Mr. Lawson nodded, of course. What do you know about Father Caleb's retreats? The deacon hesitated, why do you ask? I'm concerned, Marcus replied, about boundaries. Mr. Lawson sighed and lowered his voice. You're not the first to ask, but every time concerns come up they disappear, people backtrack, families move churches, it's complicated. Why? Marcus pressed. Because Father Caleb has powerful supporters, Mr. Lawson said, people don't want trouble. That word again. Trouble. Marcus thanked him and walked away, his heart heavy but his resolve growing stronger. That night Jordan had a nightmare. Marcus rushed into his son's room to find him sitting up, shaking. "I dreamed Mommy was gone and a man in church clothes was shouting at you," Jordan cried. Marcus pulled him into a tight hug. "It's okay, Daddy here." "Are we bad?" Jordan asked. "Did Mommy leave because of us?" Marcus felt something break inside him. "No," he said firmly, "never think that. None of this is your fault." But even as he said it, Marcus knew the damage was already spreading. The next morning, Marcus found another email. This one had a photo attached. It was of him and the children at the school gate. Taken from a distance. His hands began to shake. The message read, "Last warning." Marcus slammed the laptop shut. That was it. He called Naomi immediately. "They're watching me," he said, "the kids too." Naomi was silent for a moment. "Then you can't handle this alone." "I know," Marcus replied, "but I don't know who to trust." Naomi took a deep breath. "I do. A friend of mine works with an investigative journalist. He's careful, quiet." Marcus hesitated. "If I go down this road, there's no turning back." "Marcus," Naomi said gently, "you already crossed that line when you opened that door in Nigeria." She was right. Later that day, Marcus met the journalist in a small cafe across town. Her name was Denise Carter, a sharp-eyed woman with a calm voice and a notebook that looked well used. "I'm not here to make noise," Denise said after listening to Marcus's story. "I'm here to find patterns. Truth leaves patterns." She asked detailed questions: dates, locations, names. Marcus told her everything, including the threats. "This is bigger than an affair," Denise said quietly. "This looks like spiritual manipulation, possibly abuse." Marcus swallowed hard. "What happens now?" "Now," Denise replied, "we gather evidence and we move carefully." That evening, Serena showed up at the house unannounced. Marcus opened the door to find her standing there, eyes red, hands shaking. "They took my phone," she whispered. "They said I was talking too much." Marcus froze. "Who is they?" Serena looked past him, fear etched across her face. "Marcus, Father Caleb knows you saw us and he's angry." Before Marcus could respond, a car slowed down across the street. Serena grabbed Marcus's arm. "You have to believe me now, this isn't just about us anymore." Marcus looked at the car, then back at Serena. For the first time since Nigeria, he saw real terror in her eyes. And in that moment, Marcus realized the truth was far darker than betrayal. They were dealing with something that did not forgive silence and did not tolerate escape. Marcus pulled Serena inside quickly and locked the door behind her. His heart was pounding, not from anger this time, but from a sharp, protective fear he hadn't felt since his children were born. "Sit down," he said firmly. Serena sank onto the couch, her hands trembling. She looked thinner, exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in days. The confident church woman Marcus once knew was gone. "Start talking," Marcus said, slowly, clearly. Serena swallowed hard. "Father Caleb doesn't work alone, he never did. There are people who believe he's chosen, they protect him, they cover things up." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Cover up what?" Serena stared at the floor. "Women, marriages. He finds people who are struggling, who feel unheard or broken. He convinces them that closeness is spiritual, that obedience brings blessing." Marcus clenched his fists. "And you believed him?" "I did," she whispered, "at first, but when I tried to pull away, things changed." She explained how, during the retreat in Nigeria, phones were collected for focus, how private sessions became expected, how questioning him was framed as resisting God, and how, once she began expressing guilt and fear, the tone shifted from gentle guidance to pressure. "He said if I spoke out, our family would be destroyed," Serena said, her voice cracking. "He knew your job, he knew the kids' school, he knew everything." Marcus felt sick. "That email, the photo, it was him." "Or someone close to him," Serena replied. "They watch, they always watch." A sudden sound upstairs made them both freeze. Marcus held up a hand. "The kids are asleep," he said quietly, "but you can't stay here." Serena's eyes widened. "Marcus, please, I have nowhere else." Marcus looked at her, torn. Anger still burned in him, but beneath it was something heavier: understanding. She had made terrible choices, but she had also been trapped in something dangerous. "You can stay tonight," he said finally. "Tomorrow, Naomi will take you somewhere safe." Serena nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. That night, Marcus sat alone in the dark living room, a baseball bat resting near his chair. Every sound made him alert. Every passing car slowed his breathing. Around 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered silently. You're making a mistake, a man's voice said calmly. This doesn't end well for families. Marcus recognized the voice immediately, Father Caleb. You used God to hurt people, Marcus said. This ends now. There was a soft chuckle on the other end. You think you're the first husband to say that? Marcus's blood ran cold. Let your wife come back, Father Caleb continued. Let things return to order or you'll lose more than peace. The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone, his resolve hardening into steel. The next morning, Marcus met Denise again. This time, Serena came too. Denise listened carefully, recording everything: dates, names, locations, threats. This confirms what I suspected, Denise said. You're not alone, there are others, women who tried to speak and were silenced. Serena looked up sharply. Others? Yes, Denise said. Some lost their marriages, some lost their churches, one nearly lost her child. Marcus felt a fire ignite in his chest. What do we do? Serena asked. Denise closed her notebook. We build a case, and when we move fast. By evening, rumors began spreading. Marcus noticed people whispering at the school gate. Serena received messages accusing her of lying, of being used by the enemy. Someone posted online that Marcus was trying to destroy a man of God out of jealousy. The backlash was swift. Jordan came home quiet that day. Daddy, he said softly, a boy said Mommy is bad and God is angry with us. Marcus knelt in front of him holding his son's face. Listen to me, God loves truth and God loves you. But inside, Marcus felt rage like never before. Father Caleb wasn't just attacking him. He was poisoning his children. That night, Marcus made another decision. He called Denise. I'm done being careful. There was a pause on the line. Are you sure? Marcus looked at his children sleeping peacefully, unaware of the war unfolding around them. Yes, he said, if this scatters my family, then the truth will gather others. As he hung up, Marcus knew the coming days would change everything. Father Caleb had power. But Marcus had something stronger now. The truth and nothing left to lose. The story broke quietly at first. Not with headlines, not with flashing cameras, but with careful whispers placed in the right ears. Denise moved like a shadow, contacting former church members, women who had left suddenly, couples whose marriages had collapsed after attending retreats. Patterns began to line up with disturbing precision. Marcus watched it unfold from a distance, like standing on the edge of a storm he had already stepped into. One woman agreed to talk. Her name was Lorraine Washington, a soft-spoken single mother who now lived 2 states away. She met Marcus and Denise in a rented office, her hands folded tightly in her lap. He said I was chosen, Lorraine said, her voice barely above a whisper. That my pain made me open to God's deeper work. When I questioned him, he said doubt was rebellion. Marcus felt Serena tense beside him. I tried to tell my church, Lorraine continued, but they said I was bitter, that I wanted attention. I lost everything, my friends, my reputation. Serena began to cry. Lorraine looked at her gently. You're not weak, you were targeted. That word stayed with Marcus. Targeted. As more voices joined, Father Caleb's calm confidence began to crack. He canceled public appearances. His sermons stopped being live-streamed. Church leaders released vague statements about misunderstandings and spiritual attacks. But behind closed doors, pressure intensified. Marcus received a letter at work accusing him of harassment. Serena's name was dragged through online prayer forums. Someone left a note on Marcus's car that read, "You're ruining God's work." But Marcus did not stop. The final piece came unexpectedly. A former assistant pastor contacted Denise anonymously. He provided internal emails, proof that complaints had been buried, that payouts were made quietly, that Father Caleb was moved from church to church whenever rumors grew too loud. This is it, Denise said, her voice steady but fierce. This is enough. The article went live on a Sunday morning. By noon it was everywhere. Screens filled with words like abuse, manipulation, cover-up. Survivors spoke out, names were named, receipts were shown. Father Caleb's phone was disconnected by evening. By nightfall, the church board announced his suspension pending investigation. Marcus sat in his living room watching the news with the children playing quietly nearby. Serena sat across from him, exhausted, hollowed out, but free in a way she hadn't been in months. "It's over," Serena whispered. Marcus shook his head slowly. "It's exposed, that's different." The fallout was immediate. Some church members apologized, others doubled down, claiming persecution, friends vanished, family members took sides. The hardest moment came when Jordan asked a simple question at dinner. "Daddy," he said, "are we still a family?" Marcus froze. Serena reached for her son's hand, tears falling freely. Marcus took a breath and answered carefully. "We are changing," he said, "but love doesn't disappear because truth shows up." Jordan nodded slowly, accepting more than Marcus expected. That night Marcus stood alone on the porch, the cool air brushing his face. Naomi joined him quietly. "You shook something big," she said. Marcus stared into the dark. "I didn't mean to scatter my family." Naomi placed a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes scattering is what happens before rebuilding." Inside, Serena watched from the doorway, hearing those words land somewhere deep inside her. The damage was done, the innocence was gone. But the silence was broken. And for the first time since Nigeria, Marcus slept without fear. The days after the exposure felt strange and quiet, like the air after a heavy storm. Marcus returned to work, but nothing felt the same. Some colleagues avoided him, others nodded with a respect that felt cautious, unsure. He focused on his job, measuring buildings, filling reports, trying to hold on to routine because routine was the only thing keeping his thoughts steady. At home, the children were calmer but different. Jordan asked fewer questions. Maya clung more tightly. Marcus noticed how both of them watched adults now, like they were learning early that people could change without warning. Serena stayed in the guest room. They spoke when necessary about the kids, school, schedules, meals, but avoided deeper conversations. The space between them was heavy with regret, pain, and things that could not be undone. One evening, Serena finally broke the silence. "I'm starting counseling," she said softly as they stood in the kitchen. "Real counseling, not church-related." Marcus nodded. "That's good." "I don't expect forgiveness," Serena continued, "but I want to be better for them." Marcus looked at her carefully. "Healing takes time and accountability." She nodded, accepting the truth in his words. Meanwhile, Father Caleb had disappeared. No public statement, no apology, just silence. But silence did not mean peace. Denise called Marcus late one afternoon. "He's not gone," she said, "he's hiding." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Where?" "We're not sure yet," Denise replied, "but sources say he's trying to rebuild influence quietly, different name, different network." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "So this isn't over?" "No," Denise said, "and there's something else. Someone leaked that you're the main reason the story came out." Marcus closed his eyes. "I figured." "You should be careful," Denise warned. "People like him don't let go easily." That same week, Serena received an unexpected visit. A woman stood at the door one afternoon while Marcus was at work. She was older, well-dressed, with sharp eyes and a tight smile. "My name is Ruth Holloway," the woman said. "I work with Father Caleb." Serena's heart raced. "He's not welcome here." Ruth tilted her head slightly. "I'm not here to threaten you, I'm here to advise you." Serena crossed her arms. "About what?" "About your children," Ruth said calmly. "About the damage being done to their souls by all this noise." Serena's voice shook. "Get out." Ruth smiled thinly. "You should think carefully, some things are better buried." Serena slammed the door and locked it, her hands shaking. That night she told Marcus everything. "They came to the house," she said. "They know where we live." Marcus's jaw tightened. "That's it, we're filing a restraining order." Serena nodded. "I don't want to be afraid anymore." The restraining order was granted quickly. Still the tension lingered. Marcus noticed unfamiliar cars parked down the street. He changed his routes to work. Naomi insisted the kids stay with her some weekends. The family moved like people learning how to live with shadows. Then came the call that shook Marcus deeply. It was from his mother, Evelyn Bell. "I heard what happened," she said quietly, "all of it." Marcus waited for judgment. Instead, she sighed, "I'm proud of you." Marcus swallowed hard. "This has hurt everyone." "I know," Evelyn replied, "but silence hurts longer." Her words gave him strength. One evening, Marcus and Serena sat together for the first time in weeks, watching the children play in the yard. "Do you think we can ever be normal again?" Serena asked. Marcus watched Jordan laugh as Maya chased him. "I don't think normal is coming back." Serena nodded sadly. "But maybe honest will," Marcus added. Serena wiped her eyes. "I'll take honest." Just when things seemed to settle, Denise called again. Her voice was tense. "Marcus," she said, "we found something." "What kind of something?" Marcus asked. "A financial trail," Denise replied. "Shell organizations, donations, money moved under religious cover." Marcus felt a chill. "How big?" "Bigger than we thought," Denise said. "And your name is still being mentioned in places you don't want it mentioned." Marcus looked out the window at his children, unaware. "What happens now?" he asked. Denise paused. "Now it moves beyond the church." As Marcus ended the call, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. He opened the message. "You took something from us, now we will take something from you." Marcus's hands trembled as he stared at the screen. For a moment fear tried to return. Then he deleted the message. He walked inside, locked the doors, and looked at his family with a clarity he had not felt before. They had already been scattered once. And he would not let it happen again. Not without a fight. The threat did not come immediately. That was the most dangerous part. Days passed, then weeks. No strange cars, no messages, no calls. The silence felt deliberate, like something holding its breath. Marcus did not relax. He understood now that people who hid behind power rarely struck in anger. They waited. Denise kept working. What began as a church scandal grew into something much larger. Financial investigators became involved. The shell organizations Denise uncovered were connected to multiple ministries across states and overseas. Donations meant for charity had been redirected. Retreat fees disappeared into private accounts. Non-disclosure agreements were quietly paid to people who spoke too loudly. And Father Caleb's name appeared again and again. One afternoon, Denise called with a different tone in her voice. "They're moving," she said, "not him, authorities." Marcus sat down slowly. "You're sure?" "Yes, warrants, interviews, accounts frozen. This is no longer something that can be prayed away or buried." Marcus closed his eyes. For the first time since that unlocked door in Nigeria, he allowed himself to breathe. The arrest happened quietly. No dramatic scene, no church steps. Father Caleb was taken in early one morning from a temporary residence under a different name. News broke hours later. This time there was no room for denial. Statements were issued, apologies followed, boards resigned, churches split. Some people still defended him. But many more did not. Survivors spoke openly now, supported by evidence and each other. What once felt like isolated shame became shared truth. Serena watched the news coverage in silence. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly, turning to Marcus. "Not just for what I did, but for how long I stayed quiet after." Marcus studied her face. He saw remorse there, real remorse, not fear, not excuses. "I know," he said, "and that matters." They had not decided what their marriage would become. Some wounds healed slowly, some never fully closed, but something had shifted. The power that once controlled Serena's silence was gone. Life did not return to what it was before. But it became something steadier. Jordan started smiling again. His teachers said he was speaking up more in class. Maya stopped waking up at night. The house felt lighter even with its scars. Serena moved into a small apartment nearby. She attended counseling weekly and therapy sessions with other survivors. Sometimes she came over for dinner, sometimes she left early. Boundaries were clear. One evening, after the children had gone to bed, Marcus and Serena sat on the porch, the same place where fear once lived. "I don't expect us to be the same," Serena said, "but I hope one day we can be peaceful." Marcus nodded. "Peace comes from truth, not pretending." She smiled sadly. "I've learned that." Months later, Marcus stood in a community center filled with people. He had not planned to speak. He had only come to support Denise and the survivors, but when he was asked to say a few words, he stood. "I didn't come here as a hero," Marcus said simply. "I came here as a husband who opened a door and saw something that broke him." The room was silent. "I made a decision not to stay quiet," he continued. "And that decision scattered my family at first, but silence would have scattered many more." People nodded, some cried. Marcus looked out at the faces before him and finished with one final truth. Faith should never demand your fear, and love should never ask you to disappear. That night, Marcus returned home to his children asleep and his house quiet. He stood in the doorway of their room, watching them breathe, remembering how close he came to losing more than trust. He had lost a version of his family, but he had saved their future. The decision he made, the decision to walk away, to speak up, to refuse silence, had changed everything. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear that truth is always worth the cost.
Thank you for watching Black Race Tales. Remember, every story carries a lesson, and every lesson carries our legacy. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this story with someone who needs its message today. See you in the next tale.